all about boosting your business English, especially for sales. And we are so excited to break this down together. Get ready for some super useful tips to help you like totally nail those conversations.
I think it's kind of crazy how, like, just little changes in how you talk can make a big difference at work, especially when you're trying to, like, sell something, you
Yeah,
know?
for real. And the video kicks off with this vocabulary preview thing. And I got to admit, even I was like, whoa, I didn't know that they focus on drive sales and promotion. And yeah, we kind of know what those mean, but they use this super smart example with shampoo to really show how promotion works, like in real life.
What I find so cool about that example is how it shows, like, the psychology behind promotions. Like, even for stuff you use every day, it's not just about, like, giving a discount. It's about making people feel like, hey, I gotta buy this now, or, like, making it seem like they're getting way more than what they paid for.
Exactly. And then they jump into the scene, a sales team meeting, and it feels so real. It gets a little tense as they're trying to figure out how to, you guessed it, drive those sales.
That sales meeting is actually like a really clever way to show how the way you talk can affect how everyone works together. Like you can see how people talking in different ways can either help or like totally mess up teamwork.
And let's be honest, the boss in that meeting, I think we've all worked with someone like that. It's almost funny, like how he just doesn't get how to be a good leader.
But it's also like a lesson in what not to do, right? By watching how he talks, we can see those mistakes and learn how to create a better, more like positive vibe where people actually want to work together.
Totally. So then in the language takeaway part, they break down some phrases from that meeting. Stuff like match the competitors in the market and it'll never fly.
Those are great examples of how, like, just changing a few words can make a huge difference. Like, instead of saying, we got to be cheaper, which, like, sounds a little desperate, match the competitor, sounds
Yeah,
more strategic, you know what I mean?
totally. It's like you're thinking about the whole picture, what makes you special, and like where you fit in with everyone else out there.
Exactly. It shows you understand, like, how the market works and that you're being smart about pricing, not just, like, slashing prices
Mhm.
randomly.
Okay, so then they go into the fluency builder section, and this part is all about sounding more natural and like professional when you talk. They focus on phrases like be here any minute. Sounds like something we should consider, and that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, those are like subtle upgrades to like basic stuff. Saying be here any minute instead of I'll be there soon. It just makes you sound more confident and professional, right?
Totally. Like you're leveling up your business English without sounding like super formal or stiff. And it was really interesting how they said that even changing one word can change how your message comes across. Like saying brilliant instead of just great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a perfect example of how the words you choose can show that you're really enthusiastic and you believe in what you're saying. It's not just about like grammar, it's about using words to create like a feeling or an impact, you know?
Speaking of impact, remember that boss from the meeting? The video actually comes back to him and talks about different leadership styles.
Oh, that's interesting because it makes you think like, what makes a good leader? Especially when it comes to how they talk. Like, how do they get people excited, motivated, and creative?
And on the other side, what can we learn from the bosses who, like, aren't so great?
Oh,
Sometimes seeing what not to do is super helpful.
it's true. When you look at both the good and the bad examples, you get a much better idea of like how to be a good leader and communicate effectively.
This is where things get really cool because it starts connecting to those bigger ideas about how we talk at work.
Right. We're going beyond just single words and phrases and looking at how we connect with people and build relationships in like a professional setting.
Like, it makes you think about the bosses you've had, right? The ones who are, like, really good at communicating and getting the best out of their teams.
Yeah, it's definitely worth thinking about those experiences and like figuring out what made them so good. What did they actually do? How did they create that environment where everyone felt like supported and positive?
It's funny how those little things can really stick with you, and they kind of shape how you communicate too.
For sure. We can learn so much from both good and bad examples. And then we can use those lessons in our own interactions, whether we're like leading a team or just working on a project.
The video ends with this audio review section, which I thought was pretty neat.
It's a smart way to like go over those important words and phrases again and make sure they really stick with you.
Yeah. It's like a quick recap of all those practical phrases we talked about.
Repetition is key when you're learning a language. So that audio review is super helpful for like solidifying your understanding.
So, like, what does all this mean for you in your own work life? I think the biggest takeaway is that even small changes in how you talk can make a huge difference, especially in sales.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not about sounding fancy or anything. It's about being clear, connecting with people, and ultimately, like, getting what you want.
It's about having that confidence to walk into a sales meeting or a negotiation and knowing how to use language to your advantage.
Exactly. Imagine you've got all these vocabulary tools and fluency tips. You're able to like explain your ideas clearly, understand what's really going on in the conversation, and handle those tricky situations with difficult people, you know?
And even beyond the language stuff, we also learned a lot about different leadership styles.
Yeah, and that's something we can all use no matter what our job is. Like watching how other people communicate, the good and the bad, it gives us so many ideas for how we can improve ourselves professionally.
So now that you've got all these tools, what's one conversation you could approach differently at work?
Think about a time when, like, a conversation didn't go so well. Could any of these phrases or strategies have helped?
Or maybe you have a meeting coming up where you can really use this new vocabulary and those like subtle fluency upgrades.
Remember, mastering conversational English for business is a journey. It's not like you learn it all at once and you're done.
It's all about constantly learning, practicing, and getting better.
And the more you focus on improving your communication, the more confident and impactful you'll be in any business setting.
This has been such a cool deep dive. We've covered so much today.
I know, right? We talked about practical vocabulary, tips for fluency, and even got into like the whole world of leadership and communication styles.
Hopefully this has given you the knowledge and like the inspiration to take your business English to the next level.
Remember, being able to communicate well is like a superpower in the business world. And now you have the tools to use that power.
It's like you've unlocked a secret code that opens doors to better connections and opportunities.
And the best part is that anyone can learn these skills with practice and the right guidance. It's not about being a native speaker or anything. It's about understanding how to communicate effectively and then using those skills strategically.
Who knows? Maybe you'll even inspire other people to improve their communication too.
Yeah.
Leading by example can be super powerful.
Absolutely. So go out there and confidently handle those business conversations.
And remember, we're always here to help you on your language learning journey. It's been awesome going through this YouTube video with you.
I know, right? It's like you wouldn't believe how much we can pick up from even like a short video when we really, break it down and find those little golden nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, totally. So before we wrap things up, anything you want to leave our listeners with? Any final thoughts?
I think like the most important thing is to remember that getting better at communicating is like a marathon, not a sprint. You don't just learn it overnight, right? So don't be scared to try out new phrases, get feedback from people, and keep pushing yourself to do things that like make you a little uncomfortable at first.
That's such good advice. It's all about growing and learning all the time. Well, I think we've officially reached the end of our deep dive.
We